Okay, well, we're going to get started. This is recorded, so many students will be watching this. We do have about 25 students who are applying for Fulbright so far this year from CGU. So just to get started, I'm Rebecca Donaldson, and I'm the Fulbright Assistant for CGU, or Claremont Graduate University. This is our second year working with students, supporting them on their Fulbright applications and other grants. So I'm just hosting this roundtable again. I know a few of you have been here last year. And yeah, we're just kind of here to talk about our Fulbright experiences, answer any questions that students may have. We have a few students online today, but this will also be recorded. So if you can just kind of provide background information about your college experience, as well as the Fulbright that you applied for, the application process and that type of thing, and then your experience abroad. So we'll go around, I'll ask some questions and then I'll just have you guys answer when you feel like it. Does that sound okay? Okay, let's start with names. So we'll just popcorn. I'm gonna start with, I'm getting feedback, sorry. I'm gonna start with Christelle, since she's the one on my screen right now. So.
Sure, what would you like to know about me?
Just say your name, where you're kind of at in life right now, and the Fulbright that you were awarded.
Sure, so hi everyone, my name is Christelle. I am currently located in Greensboro. I'm attending the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. I just submitted my last paper. Graduation is in 2 days. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at right now. Waiting to hear back on scholarships from Oxford because I got accepted into a second master's with them. Might be staying for a little bit of academic training, so kind of a temporary job. And yeah, my Fulbright was a Fulbright foreign student. So I am from Lebanon and I came to the US for my master's degree in August of 2020.
Can I ask what your master's is in again, if you didn't say it?
Of course, so my master's is in peace and conflict studies.
Okay.
Yeah, Christelle and I know each other from the conflict resolution program at Middlebury that they have. Thank you, Christelle. Do you want to popcorn, Christelle, and pick someone on the list?
Sure, I guess I'll throw the ball to John.
Okay, I'm John Mauger. I'm a PhD student at CGU, and my area is religion and philosophy. So I picked up a philosophy MA back in 2018 at CGU. And I'm currently, I have 2 dissertation proposals. And I would like to do research in an area of one of those overseas as part of my working on my dissertation project, preferably.
Great, thanks, John. Can you popcorn and pick someone?
Okay, I'm looking, is it Liesel or Liesel?
Yeah, Liesel. Sure, I'll go next. I am Liesel Neidiger, and I graduated from CGU with my PhD in health promotion sciences in 2015. And so I'm currently an assistant professor at the University of Texas at Austin in health behavior and health education. And my research is primarily in HIV prevention, particularly among underserved communities. So once I finished coursework, I applied for a Fulbright Fogarty. And so I had the Fulbright Fogarty and went to South Africa from 2012 to 2013, I believe. So I guess I'll popcorn over to Connor.
Yeah, I'm Connor Tudbury. I did my undergraduate degree at Western Washington University. And I haven't done any graduate studies, but I currently work at Boise State University in advancement as director of annual giving. For my Fulbright experience, I was in the Fulbright ETA program in Brazil in 2015. Yeah, it was a great experience. I'm not sure if I missed anything there. I apologize.
No, that's perfect, Connor. Thank you. Do you want to pick another person?
Sure. How about Nicole?
Hello, my name is Nicole DeSante. I am from Tucson, Arizona, but I currently live in Paris, and I'm doing a master's there in communications. In 2010, I did a Fulbright in Brazil as well. I did a research project about urban planning, and we made a documentary film. And it was great. I actually want to do another one, so I'm curious about everyone's experience.
Thanks,
Thank
Nicole.
you. And I'll pick Clarissa.
Hello. So my name is Clarissa. I'm a current master's student here at CGU in the Positive Developmental Psychology and Evaluation program. I'm currently interested in the intersection of psychology and social policy, specifically related to refugee experiences. So I'm curious about doing a Fulbright in a country where there's high number of refugee populations, looking at Jordan, looking at Greece, and a few other places. So we'd love to do a research project there. So we'll see. Let's see, popcorn. Who hasn't gone? I'm looking at the slides here. How about Javier?
Javier, maybe like just listening in. Oh, are you listening in, Javier?
I was on mute, of course.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, hello, Rebecca. Nice to see you.
Good to
Sorry
see
I haven't been in touch. Been busy doing a lot of stuff, not only with school, but with work.
Yeah,
I
no,
work full time and I take a couple of classes at the same time. I'm working on a PhD in information systems. I wanted to do a PhD 30 years ago, but I moved to the East Coast. But instead of getting a PhD, I fell in love and moved back to the West Coast and got married and kids a couple years later. So now my kid's a little older. Now I can do stuff, work on my dream again. So I am a urban planner, a regional planner, and I work on things that interest me mainly because I guess folks think I know what I'm doing. So I like to work on stuff that impacts disadvantaged communities. I've always been fascinated with issues of race, class, gender, and poverty. So basically what I do, I try to do things like that in regional planning. Now I'm really an analyst, but I know how to manage projects. So now I build systems. New system that we built is called the Regional Data Platform. And basically it's a $3 million project and we give hundreds of thousands of dollars of data and it's open to the world. So if you need data on Southern California, we probably have it for you for free. So you're welcome. Your tax dollars paid for it. You know, I try to be a data anarchist. So what I want to do is I want to build on the data science now. So the country that I'm looking at is London, because they have a good program there. College of London, they have a good program on data and spatial sciences. So if I'm just going to apply there, if I don't get it, I'm not going. So I already wrote my essays. So thank you very much, Rebecca. You've been wonderful. I mean, yeah, I gotten some good feedback. So now I just need to get my passport stamped by my wife and my daughters to see if I can go. So thank you. That's just me in a nutshell.
thank you, Javier.
Sure.
Do you want to popcorn to someone else?
I don't know who's
pick
gone
for-
and who's not gone. I was 10 minutes late, so sorry about that. I'm on Mexican time. I heard it's kind of like Brazilian time.
Yeah, similar, quite similar. I'm gonna pick Lisa.
I'm trying to find my mouse. I am just here to learn more. And I know Rebecca because
Hi.
we looked at the Adolescent Moral Development Lab together at CGU, and I'm just curious as to what's going on. So thanks for having this roundtable.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Do you want to popcorn to someone, or I can pick if you can't?
Louise, have you gone yet?
Hi, everyone. My name is Louise. I live in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and I did my Fulbright ETA experience. My first year was in Brazil in 2013, and then I did a second year as a mentor in 2014. And I really enjoy hearing about all of your experiences.
Thank you, Louise. Do you want to popcorn to someone?
Sure. So it looks like everyone on my screen, I actually, Melinda.
Hi, everybody. It's just Mel, and I'm just here to learn more.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to pick the next person just because I think you arrived late. So I'll pick, is it Shritu? Some people might just be listening in. Did we miss anyone? If I missed anyone, feel free to speak. I don't mean to miss anyone, but I might have missed a couple.
I think we got everybody at this point.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all for coming. And just to let you know, again, if you just got here, I do help students one-on-one with their Fulbright applications. We provide webinars like this every couple of weeks. We talk about writing, we talk about the application process. Sometimes we have roundtables like this cool experience that we have today. I am a former Fulbright ETA to Brazil as well. So a lot of the people on here have also lived in Brazil or did their Fulbright in Brazil just because of connections that I have, but we do have a few other countries represented as well. We're gonna go around and I'm kind of just gonna ask some questions and you guys can feel free to jump in. You don't have to answer, not everyone has to answer, but feel free to answer if you want to. My first question is, what was your favorite part about your Fulbright experience? And anyone can jump in if they want.
Going on safari.
Safari, awesome.
Yeah, I saw 4 out of the big 5, so got to do that a couple times, and I would also say the food was fantastic in South Africa. We were right on the coast in Durban, and some of the best seafood I've ever had in my life.
Great, sounds amazing.
I can say that, yeah, for sure. The difference in eating in Brazil, like eating big lunches with people, is so different than in the US. And I really enjoyed that. And also I did a lot of hobbies on the side. So when you do a Fulbright, you have to learn the language, you have to make friends. So pick a hobby that you really want to start. And I started taking circus classes. So that was really fun. And that was a whole nother research project. But yeah, you get to make your own schedule. And I was 24, so it was the first time that I really moved away. And it was hard, but also I had to choose what I did every day. No one was telling me. And even if you're at any age and you move to a new country, you have to reestablish a routine. And you can decide what you want to do. So
I really enjoyed all of those cultural aspects and visits and things too. I think though, as an ETA, the focus is on teaching over research. And I think one of the things that was really most fulfilling to me was the connections I was able to make with my students in Brazil. Like so many of them still keep in touch, and it just is really wonderful to see these students who were, just breaking into their English skills at that point in time. A lot of them, it's been, 5 years since I was there now. And, a lot of them have come to the US to do master's degrees or are working on PhDs, and being able to see that kind of success in the students you're working with is always just super fulfilling.
I can go next. So for me, of course, my Fulbright is in the US since I am an international student. And the most enjoyable parts And this is really hard to pick because there are so many great memories that I've made, but I guess it's just the experience of, volunteering and being engaged in extracurricular activities and on-campus activities and kind of getting to give back to the community through that, but also getting to bond with people along the way and just learning more about the community fabric and all the great individuals that make it up. And another, experience that's equal to that would be really my graduate assistantship and the mentorship that I got to build with my supervisor. So it wasn't really, a relationship of power in the sense that she was, my employer and I was her employee. It was more of a mentorship and this concern that she wanted me to really learn as much as I could from her experience. And she wanted to really be there for me in terms of growth and see what I needed from this experience and what I could contribute. So I really liked that she saw, the human in me. It's not that I was just a student or a number passing by.
Great, thanks, Christelle. Anyone else? And you don't have to speak if you don't want to. I think my favorite experience was really just making lots of friends and learning how to dance. Fall was really fun for me. And the food was really great too. Let's do another question. Fulbright, as you all know, and I know as well, it's not all happiness. There's also tough times as well and some difficult experiences. I'm just kind of curious, what were some of your challenges? What did you maybe expect it, maybe like had an expectation as to what your Fulbright experience was going to be like, and maybe you were faced with something completely different? Can you guys give some examples or talk about some things that might have been really challenging for you?
I think from my perspective, just being really flexible with what your expectations are is key. Honestly, in any experience in a new culture and unfamiliar setting. But I think particularly with Fulbright, like it's the ETA program, the emphasis on teaching, but there is a small research component to it or a project component to it. And I realized pretty quickly when I got to Brazil that the project I had proposed was just like, frankly, not attainable. I'd made a lot of assumptions about how the Brazilian education system worked going into it that were just not true. And frankly, it was just not a reasonable thing to try and pull off. And so I had to, on the ground, completely come up with a new project and adapt around that. And I think it actually worked out for the best, but it did require an open mind and a willingness to meet with the people I was connected with there and, also see what their needs were and what their capacities were and how to work with that. So I think having that kind of open mind is really important. On the teaching side as well, I had students coming from all sorts of backgrounds and with plenty of disruptions throughout the school year. And so just being able to be flexible and work with all those things, I think was really important.
I would definitely agree, as well as just be ready to just kind of go on the fly and be able to switch what you're doing pretty quickly. So with the Fulbright Fogarty, you don't propose a research study, you actually join on a research study, and your application is focused on how you're going to be an asset to their research. And so I do HIV research, so that mine had to do with youth at risk in rural South Africa. And when I got accepted, my mentor, who was supposed to be mentoring this whole entire thing, the email bounced back when I told him I got accepted, and I was like, what is going on? And turns out he left and went to the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and I didn't have a mentor. And he was the only behavioral scientist there, and so nobody really cared about what I wanted to do. And I was very interested in intimate partner violence and the intersection with HIV, and I was flat out told that wasn't an issue, and which it is. And so I had to kind of do my own research on the back end and on the side. And then eventually, unfortunately, Oscar Pistorius allegedly killed his girlfriend on Valentine's Day in 2013. And that brought IPV up to the forefront. And I was able to, in the last 2 or 3 months, I was able to actually move forward with some of the stuff. So mine all stemmed from my mentor leaving before I got there. And so it was challenging, but you make the most of it. And I did a really cool research study, but it just wasn't what I was anticipating.
For me, it was more on the logistical side of things. So like the first couple of weeks when we get here, you have to figure out renting the place and just kind of getting furniture and getting like your clearances in order, like in terms of like for my graduate assistantship work clearances and all of that. And then, now as I'm getting ready to kind of sort of return back to my home country, I want to say, because it's still a little bit up in the air, like how long I'm going to stay for academic training, or if I'm going or when I'm going back. It's also figuring out, how to take back everything I've accumulated with me throughout the past 2 years, like clothes and books and all of that. So if you all have tips, I mean, I would love to hear what you all did, really. Another thing would be really navigating the healthcare system in the US. So that was very convoluted and not very easy, even with the help of, everyone at the International Program Center and all of that. I still somewhat don't understand parts of it. And I've discovered that a lot of Americans don't really understand a big deal of it.
Yeah, you reminded me there. I would say the same thing of mental health services. It was something I struggled with in Brazil, is there's really not great access to mental health care there. And I know that can vary from country to country. And I wish I had taken the time to set up some of those remote options that are now available ahead of time. And so I would just throw that out there as another consideration that you reminded me of.
I'm thinking about, I also changed my project. I mean, I had one idea. I just really wanted to go to Curitiba and see the urban planning. I was inspired by urban, like green spaces. But then when I got there, of course, I mean, it's not like the books, and my mentor disappeared. And, I was kind of easy on myself because a friend of mine who had one before, he told me, like, just take your time, it takes a while to get, 3 months at least to get kind of grounded, and still maybe 6 months. I didn't start my research until like 6 months in, but I had already been doing research on my own because I found out, what am I really passionate about? Well, bicycles and transportation, because that's what I'm actually doing every day. I'm using the bike. I love biking, and I see the problems firsthand. So you don't have to force yourself into any project you don't enjoy. And then I decided I don't want to write a paper. I don't like that. So I did a video, and I wanted to show visually what the world was there. And so that was another experience. I didn't really have experience in that. So I like had to just pretend that I knew what I was doing. I knew. And I wish I had known that I could have created like a support team in the US kind of. I didn't ask for help from old professors or family friends. I wasn't good at that then. And now that we have Zoom, I mean, it was different 12 years ago, but yeah, it's really okay to ask for help. And even in research, like PhD students need help. Every age needs help. But I thought, oh no, I need to do this on my own. I can't admit that I don't know what to do, which is sad because we all need help, right? But I did it, and I'm proud.
I have a question for you guys. I'm thinking to apply for the Fulbright. That'd be like for 2023, 2024. So what made your argument compelling so you guys can actually get it? That's my question.
Well, I can say that the application is very short, and make it very simple. I mean, I was also doing urban planning, so just very simple, like 3 points. I'm going to do 3 things, and these are 2 or 3 ways I'm going to do each thing, like almost bullet points. And I mean, yeah, we have to talk about why it's important in the world, and your project definitely is. So I would just say simple, and ask for help with your team, because if they can understand it and it's a global issue, I mean, Fulbright will probably fund it.
I will add on to that. I think just let your story shine through and let your passion shine through and explain really the why behind it. So why are you wanting to do what you are, applying for, or the project that you want to carry out? And how does this benefit really intercultural linkages, or how will it benefit, your home country once you get back, and even your host community once you are there? So really the benefit of it in the world, and how it fosters intercultural understanding and belonging, and your passion for it. Like, they need to see that you absolutely have to, go there and do this thing, and that you really are so passionate about it. Like, you can feel that sometimes through writing, but also even more during the interview and communicate it.
Oh, so there's an interview. I didn't know.
There is an
Okay.
interview. It's not like a job interview. It's more academically focused in my experience. What I was going to say though was I would agree with all of those things. I think for me, one of the things I struggled with was it was tricky finding the line between writing a proposal that was specific enough to show why I needed to be in that place and have that experience, but also broad enough that it could be flexible, knowing that, as we've all just said, things are going to change and not necessarily work out quite how you expected. That said, the other thing I would really encourage you to do, and it sounds like you've already done some of this working with Rebecca, is take advantage of all the resources available to you at your home institution. Talk to your professors, advisors, folks like Rebecca. I think that was honestly the single biggest thing that helped to get me into the program, was having good advisors who were able to give me tips and advice. I think Rebecca's a great start. We actually know each other from undergrad together, so she helped me with my application back then. And yeah, just going to those folks who have that experience and reaching out. And perhaps I would say even reaching out to some folks on the other end in London and saying, I'm applying for this program. I want to know if I can be of service to your team. And making all that happen in advance will only help things.
Yeah, I had my mentor actually look over, well, the mentor I was supposed to have, he actually looked over my application. So that was really helpful. So I would definitely do that. And the other thing I would say during the interview, it's your institution that interviews you, and then they provide a report to Fulbright. But I noticed that they were really looking for you to talk about cultural humility and being really adaptable to change, because they know that things are just not going to go the way that you expect. And so that came out a lot in my interview. I think that's the last thing I would add about that.
I want to thank you guys for mentioning your experience of losing your mentors, or your so-called, affiliations. I'm sure that happens quite a lot.
Yeah, it definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, I was just going to say, I was assigned a new one, but they just didn't understand what I was doing. They were MDs or epidemiologists. And so, yeah, you just kind of figure it out on your own and do what you want. And I had a really cool experience. So
I was supposed to assist a professor in teaching linguistics, which is really my background. And I ended up becoming a full professor for 3 months and teaching a literature course. And I was really scared. I had no idea what I was doing, and I don't even know why that happened, but I was a professor of literature for 3 months. So you never know, things happen, and it isn't always super, you just have to be really flexible, because it's not always going to be what you want it to be.
That's funny, Rebecca. I didn't realize that, but my experience was really similar, where I had got into it with the project proposed around doing some research around philanthropy in Brazil.
Mhm.
And it was frankly just really poor data to do much with. And so I ended up also working with the English department and teaching literature classes, and then also working with the library to build sort of a lending library and a few other little community things.
It's fascinating. Yeah, definitely be on your toes, because you never know what's going to be thrown at you, for sure.
How do you reach out to some of these folks in the host country? And how do you find the right person? Because there's lots of people in those programs, and what would you suggest?
Well, it
Oh,
depends on what program you're going to first.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do the teaching, you're going to be, you're applying and then you're going to be teaching with somebody and it'll be easier to, I don't want to say easier. You would know what type of organization to reach out to. If you're doing a regular Fulbright, you have to find your own nonprofit or university. And that I would say would be good. It would be helpful to talk to alum. Fulbright has thousands of alum, and so that's one of them found me, and so she was taking over as I was leaving, and so we just kind of passed the baton, and she found me that way. And then I would and use people like us, like these types of things to reach out. Yeah, I think that would be, those are my recommendations at first. Oh, and for the Fulbright Fogarty, if you do that run, they provide you the organization you'll be working with. So you already kind of have a contact person.
Yeah.
so there's some database of Fulbright that I can, query. Okay, London College, spatial programs, data sciences. Is that specific?
I don't know if it's that specific, but there is a database with former Fulbright alumni. I can look and see for you. Another thing I'd recommend, I'm going to apply to Canada this year for a research award. And what I did was I went to a conference, found somebody that I was really interested in possibly being in their lab next year. And then I reached out to them on LinkedIn and they said they'd be happy to serve as my affiliate. So if there's a professor, like if you can find someone online that you're interested in working under, maybe shoot them an email and introduce yourself and see if they'd be interested. That's another good way to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say pretty much just that of I think you'd be surprised with what you can accomplish by just Googling, College of London Spatial Studies and see who pops up as the department chair and shoot them an email. In my experience, it's always, you just gotta do it and reach out.
Proactive. All right.
Is there anyone on here that received a research award, just the Open Study Research Award? I don't think.
I've helped students apply for them, but so I've mentored that, but I didn't receive that myself.
Did you? Do you want to talk about your affiliate experience? Because that's the one piece I struggle to answer for students.
Well, my experience is kind of funny. I did study geography at University of Arizona, and I just had a dream. I said, I want to move to Brazil. I knew it. I want to go to Brazil. It's my only goal after graduation. I was interested in urban planning, and there was a visiting professor. He came to talk about Brazil, and I met him at a bar after. So then I emailed him months later, and I said, do you remember me? And I asked him to write me an email, but he's also the one who kind of disappeared. I mean, he lived in another city, so it wasn't really, he's a busy professor. He wasn't really going to take me on. I just told him I was interested and I wanted to do the project. And honestly, I just wanted to get there. But he did give me a contact in Curitiba, which is another city. And then she let me come to some classes. So you can always make it work. It's not that he didn't want to help me. He was just busy and, professors. So, but ultimately you can always make connections. That's how it is in the world.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I have contacts in Sri Lanka from another trip that I went on, so that helped me for one student. Then the other student, it was actually I don't know if any of you know him, but Dr. Alan Stacy, who was my grad advisor when I was at CGU, his wife was from Thailand and her brother used to be a professor over there. So I had another student who was interested in doing Thailand. So I just reached out to Alan and then he put me in touch with somebody who put me in touch with somebody, and it goes on and on. So just ask around and use the resources you have, because chances are somebody's going to know somebody somewhere, and then you can just get the ball rolling.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask, what's your dream? What's your imagination of best case scenario? What would you really like?
Well, right now, what I'm studying is the digital divide. Basically, it's something that impacts the world. But right now, the data that I have is basically for the United States, and I'm gonna focus in California. And basically what I'm looking at is that it basically impacts minority communities that are poor, and a lot of them are in urban centers, but most of the part of the other of the world, it's really in rural areas. So basically, the evidence that I'm finding, it's like a new modern day red line. You know how the back in the 30s, banks redline poor communities or communities of color. Now it's the telecommunications agencies that are doing this to folks. And profit is the, I guess, is the motivation or the excuse, even though government funds a lot of the infrastructure. So that's something that is a problem in the United States, and it's a problem around the world. So that's what I'm gonna study. And basically, my master's was in urban planning, but now I can't think like necessarily like an urban planner anymore. I have to think like a systems folk person, a STEM folk. So now I'm building systems in order for social scientists to address some of these problems.
Well, it makes me think of, do you want to study data? Where I go
That's
to
what I study.
school, it's the American University of Paris, and I'm studying global communications, but I also used to study geography. So, I mean, that's similar, and they just created a data systems program because that's in demand. So I can send you just a website, but yeah, I would think like Rebecca said, maybe there was a conference in London. You can see all the presenters maybe on a website, or at the universities in London, there could be a media lab, or the communications department, I'm thinking. And see which people you connect with, and then email them and tell them what you want to do. And that's it.
Yeah, I think it's really good to kind of get in a space with the person. So not just like find them online and say, hey, like I want you to be my affiliate. But it's always good of like, oh, I went to this conference and I saw you talk on X, Y, and Z. Like, I really am interested in what you talked about here. Like, would you be interested in serving as my affiliate kind of thing? Or we met at I met you at a bar once. Like, I really like that example. But I think like having met the person gives you a little bit more of an insider connection to them, where they feel like they kind of want to connect with you more rather than just finding them online. So if you can attend a conference, or I don't know, some way find contact that you can actually speak to them one-on-one, I think would be good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what conference. I just came from the American Planning Association conference, the national one in San Diego. Not too many people from London. It's the American National Conference, so it would have to be an international one for at least somebody to attend.
Yeah, I definitely think the affiliate piece can be a little bit challenging. And so trying to find two people who have done a Fulbright in that particular country, just kind of making a list of all the ways you can find connections and see if there's somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can kind of put you in contact.
So yeah, I would need access to that database wherever that is. So
yeah, I can show you all.
okay, thank you.
I'll send you an email, but did you guys want to see it as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. I think it's under alumni and then Fulbright community, or actually it might be the grantee directory. Yeah, so you can do name, country visited, field of study. So let's see. Say you're interested in history. And someone who was in Australia. So it does look like there's a lot of ways to search. And then I think what you would do was you would look up this person's name and see if you can find their contact information. Because if you did like Brazil, oops, not history. So you'll find my name, for example, and where I went, and you would just Google my name, I think, and find my contact information. So we could try, was
The
it
Alumni Ambassador Program too, that was on there.
the Alumni Ambassador Program?
Yeah.
This is a great, thank you for bringing that up, because there are alumni ambassadors as well. I know Dr. Bronk also serves as one at CGU. So people who have gone abroad before, they're available to speak with students as well and support them through their process. I actually think that's a great idea, is to find maybe someone, if there is an alumni ambassador who was in the country you're interested in, they're actually there to answer questions and guide you as well.
What's an alumni ambassador? Sorry.
They're particular people that have been awarded like the alumni ambassador kind of title for the year, and they serve to support students in answering any questions about their Fulbright application. So it's like it's an actual award that they get, and then they get their profile on here, and then they get to support you. If you ever have questions, you can reach out to them. Trying to think of, like, for example, if you're interested in like the National Geographic one, which I think is really cool, the storytelling. I know that, was it Javier that's going to apply for that one? You could click on this woman's and see her information, and then you could contact her and ask her about the process of applying for that particular award. And it tells you about her experience.
She's an alumni ambassador, right?
So she's done it before, and she's here. She's specifically available to support you in any questions that you have.
Okay.
Thank you, Liesl, for mentioning that. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I mean, I didn't know about this database or anything. So sorry for all the silly questions.
No,
I just don't know.
No problem at all. That's why we're here. Let's see. We have about 10 minutes left. I had a question because I found this challenging. Does anyone want to talk about the way that they acquired housing or secured housing abroad? I found that really challenging. I don't know if anyone else did. I didn't speak very good Portuguese at the time, so I definitely used connections. Wasn't super happy with my housing, but made it work for the year. Just kind of wondering how you guys would recommend going about getting housing.
I know some people, you can find out if people are awarded Fulbrights in that country. And I know a couple people reached out and actually decided to become roommates together. So they were both from America and then roomed together in South Africa. I did not have that experience. So what I did was we stayed at a B&B for about a week and told them that we were looking for housing, and they actually put us in touch with some people that they knew they were renting out rooms. And then we ended up at another B&B because that one couldn't hold us for another week. And but we used that original B&B owner's contacts to just, again, kind of talk to somebody who talked to somebody to talk to somebody. I had used the Vonage so I could set up a phone, because I was actually the president of the president of the Student Assembly for the American Public Health Association. So I had to be on conference calls constantly. So I actually had a need that most people don't have. I would have found housing a lot sooner, but we ended up in a granny cottage with a bunch of people renting the main house, and it worked out well.
I also had a hard time finding housing. What ended up being really helpful to me was I found a student housing group on Facebook, and I wasn't a student, but there were still good information on there. And so maybe I'm off base here, but I wouldn't have thought to look on Facebook for housing ahead of that. And it worked out really well. So I would say just keep an open mind and look at different resources you're not expecting.
Yeah, in a lot of countries, there are really strict rules about, I don't know what you call it, legitimate ways of renting. So I also use Facebook in Paris still. And at the time I didn't have a smartphone and I was really young. I didn't prepare anything, but I think you can prepare ahead of time, at least on those listservs. And usually there are websites that are similar to Craigslist in each country, and just ask people in that country ahead of time.
I would add to that, just also connect to your university's international program center or international office. It might have a different name depending on where you're going, but there's probably one within the university, and they'll be able to either assist you, or if they cannot, make recommendations. Sometimes they have access to temporary housing that they could offer you. And if they don't, they can always, connect you to students there or to student ambassadors. They will have some form of a program that's similar to that, that could also give you some tips and advice around places to look for housing at, or who might even be able to help you personally. So my experience is, when I talked with my international office, they connected me with a student that they knew was looking for roommates because she had let them know for that. And it was a long story, basically, because it was the middle of the pandemic and visas were unsure. So she did end up having another roommate sign the lease. And after 2 days, I got my visa, which was kind of ironic, but she was still able to help me, get the apartment where I'm still at. And she was so helpful to the extent that she even, assisted me with the payment at the beginning till I got my stipend and all of that. So obviously not everybody's going to be that kind, but there are different ways to go about it. And I would say definitely the International Program Center or International Office is a great resource to either connect you or because they might have resources of their own.
That's great. And just to add to that, you just made me remember, I don't know if every country is like this, but the US Embassy had like a person that was specifically in charge of like kind of overseeing the Fulbrights while we were in South Africa. And so she connected a bunch of us Americans and actually had us over for dinner one time. So we got to meet a bunch of other people, but reaching out to the embassy because they know who's in the country and they might be able to connect you with other people who then can put you in touch with other people, or, find a roommate or something along those lines.
Great, thank you guys. I think John had a question about student loans. Did you want to ask that, John?
Yeah. So my question is that being at CGU, I have significant student loan debt I've accumulated. And technically, if I go overseas to study, I will be probably under a different university, that university where I'm at, like the one that I'm looking at. You need to be a student there in their PhD program. So you need, so my question is how that works with student loans, because my student loan is tied to CGU, as far as I understand.
When you're on a Fulbright, you get deferment with student loans. And so even my year, like I had graduated from college, I was technically affiliated kind of with Western Washington University, but I had already gotten my bachelor's degree. And then because I was on a Fulbright, it's considered education like through the United States, and you get deferment for that.
Okay.
Is that how everyone?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay. Did everyone else have a nice similar experience? You just put it on deferment or something like that?
Yeah, if I remember right, you have to apply for loan deferral, but it was a pretty easy process if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, that's what I recall, is submitting something from Fulbright and then deferring them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, does anyone have any last questions, comments, anything else you want to mention?
So be flexible and take advantage of the snowball effect of of networking.
And
right?
start everything early.
Start it. Yeah, cool. Writing all this down. Thank you.
I have one last thought that may not be applicable to any of you on the call, but maybe for someone in the recording, I'm not sure. Which is, if your project and research is not necessarily linked to a specific country, maybe be a little strategic in how you apply. To be totally honest, I don't think originally when I started looking at the Fulbright program, I had wanted to go to Colombia. And I don't think I would have possibly been accepted there, if I'm being honest. They had like 6 positions. And then I was chatting with Rebecca in class one day, and she pointed out to me that Brazil had, I don't know, like 80 or something that year. And so it just was a little more strategic sense for me to apply there. I knew I'd have better odds of getting in. And so that's another thing I would consider, is if it's not really tied to a particular culture or location, look at, where your best chances of admission are by, what kind of positions are available and what kind of funds are available.
I think that's a good point. I actually, because I don't speak any other languages, so I literally just went through to see which countries that have an HIV problem have people that speak English in general. And South Africa had one on HIV in adolescents, so that's how. But I didn't know the language there, and then I took classes while I was there to learn isiZulu, and it was cool. So take advantage of like cultural opportunities like that. To even if you don't need to learn the language, it's still really cool to be able to learn that and converse with people.
Yeah, there definitely are some countries out there that have a lot of Fulbrights. So click through them before you make a final decision, because like Connor said, yeah, the year Connor applied, there was just so many. And I was like, doesn't matter. Like this is such a great opportunity. Your odds are really high. So look around. I think Mexico might be also having a lot this year. I was just kind of scrolling through them. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you all coming. And it's good to see all my friends again. Some of you I haven't seen in years, so thank you for coming. And one more thing is that the Fulbright community you're part of it once you join it, and it's with you forever. And there's always really awesome opportunities and friends all over the world that you can connect with. And so, yeah, try to get in and stay in, and it's a really great opportunity for all of you. So any last final questions or comments?
Just, I want to thank you, Rebecca, and everybody here who is sharing their experience.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming. And then feel free to reach out to me if you want to set up one-on-one meetings. I'm here all summer to support you into the fall. But let's get started early this year, because last year many of you were really like last minute. And so it'd be great to get them kind of ready to go a little bit earlier this year.
So when can we actually start the application? I mean, most of my essays are ready. I just need somebody to, you already proofed them, but I would like to, see how they would score.
Yeah, so you can start your application now. It's open for next year. You're welcome to start your application, and we can look through that as well. Again, I'm just a doctoral student. Don't have my PhD in hand, so I highly recommend. And I don't know your field of study well, so try to give your grant, your statement of grant purpose, as well as your personal statement, to your advisor or somebody in your field to look it over. Have multiple people look it over, not just me, not just your advisor. I think that was a question on my list. I know Connor went to the same school as me, and we had multiple professors and advisors, and just give your essay to as many people as you can to look for commas and all sorts of things that might need to be corrected.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Been terrific.
Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.